Hi everyone, Jeff here with you. Let's talk about SmackDown Live in part one of the WWE Draft that took place from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Let's just go over the matches that happened real quick and then we'll get into the draft and I'll give you my thoughts about the draft that happened on the show. They opened with Seth Rollins, your NBC Universal Champion, taking on Roman Reigns in non-title action. The winner of this match for their brand would get the number one draft pick on the night. I thought, they started off, kind of cordial, and then eventually the tempers boiled over. I thought they had a decent match going here. It was clear what they were going to do here at the end. I thought it was pretty obvious. So a lot of back and forth here for a while from both guys. Eventually, as the match is coming towards its conclusion, looks like Rollins is in position to win the match, maybe going for a curb stomp to win. The lights go out. You knew what's coming next. The Fiend eventually appears. Rollins is looking for him. He actually comes through the ring, pulls Rollins down through the ring, and gives him the mandible claw. Rollins is able to eventually escape. We see the Fiend peek up again. Then eventually he goes up the ramp and kind of disappears into the night. So the match ends in a disqualification. Seth Rollins actually wins the match via disqualification over Roman Reigns because of the interference from the Fiend. Clearly, they didn't want to beat either guy clean here, so they did this predictable finish here. So Raw will get the number one overall pick in the WWE Draft. I wonder who they picked. Next up was another rematch from Baron Corbin and Chad Gable. And no, I am not going to refer to Chad Gable as Shorty Gable. It's Chad Gable, because I think personally the name Shorty Gable is disrespectful, and it's a slap in the face to a guy who can actually work in the ring. But anyways, Corbin and Gable have the match. It's fine. It's nothing really new or groundbreaking that we haven't already seen from these guys. I think this is their third or fourth match. It goes about 10 minutes or so. Corbin, Gable eventually, at one point, Corbin dominates for a while. Gable makes the comeback. He gets the ankle lock on Corbin, holds it for a while. Corbin's ultimately able to escape out of it, and Corbin ultimately in the end wins with an end of days to give Corbin his win back from Hell in a Cell. So 50-50 booking on full display here, and this has to be the end of the feud. There's really nothing more they can do between these two, so hopefully these two will be drafted on different shows so we don't have to see this anymore. So we had that. Next up we had Brock Lesnar and Cain Velasquez cutting a promo on each other here. Earlier in the day, they had this press conference at the T-Mobile Arena, basically making it official what all of us already knew. The two matches that are going to be at the Saudi Arabia show, Crown Jewel, or as I call it, Saudi Mania 4. They did make it official by having Brock Lesnar taking on Cain Velasquez, and apparently that is going to be a Fox WWE title match. And they also did announce that Tyson Fury and Braun Strowman will have their match at Crown Jewel, aka Saudi Mania 4 as well. So they pretty much made those matches official, to the surprise of no one, because we all expected that. And yes, I will still not be watching Crown Jewel, aka Saudi Mania 4, because they do not allow the women to wrestle on the show. So as long as the women are not wrestling, I will not be watching. I'm sorry, I have no interest. So, Heyman's out there with Lesnar. Heyman really puts over Velasquez here for what he did in the UFC all those years ago in the match they had. I know Velasquez did not come off well at the press conference. Rey Mysterio and Velasquez ultimately come out. Velasquez speaks in Spanish. Rey translates to him. He referred to the scar that he has under the one eye there of Brock Lesnar. He says he's going to put another scar under the other eye. And they showed photos and clips of their match from UFC all those years ago, in which Velasquez won in the first round TKO. So they're basically continuing to set up that program. Next up, we have the New Day taking on the OC here in six-man tag team action. They did this thing with the New Day backstage. Before the match, just showing them all happy and clean. And Kofi Kingston, my God. You would think someone who lost the Fox WWE title in less than 10 seconds last week on SmackDown would be angry and upset and depressed or whatever not. He came off like nothing happened. He's looked jubilant, looked happy. He came off like an imbecile here. I'm sorry, but if it was me and if I lost the title, I would be fuming and I would be wanting to get my hands on Brock Lesnar. Clearly, him to him losing the Fox WWE title meant nothing. It's just, it's happened. He had his run for 6 months, and we're gonna go back to doing the stuff with the New Days and doing the stupid stuff with the pancakes, and that's what he did here. I just thought it was a real bad look on his part. So they have the match, and before the match actually starts, the New Day hosted a small segment for the Susan G. Komen Foundation that the WWE has a partnership with. Xavier Woods brings out these two ladies, I should say, breast cancer survivors. And, they had a nice little moment here. It was fine. I had nothing wrong with it. They did a little video package for the ladies here, and it was nice. They got these women's championship belts, so they had a very nice presentation, and I see nothing wrong with that. I thought that was pretty cool. The match itself, really nothing out of the ordinary here. I thought it was fine for what it was. Ultimately, Kofi wins for his team. He beats AJ Styles with the Trouble in Paradise after all the other guys are outside the ring. So Kingston gets his win back from the previous week by beating Styles yet again. And AJ Styles, your U.S. champion, I believe he's the U.S. champion if I'm not mistaken, because he hasn't defended that title in a while, loses clean again. So we had that. And finally, in your main event of the evening, and before we get to that, if you were paying very close attention, they showed Charlotte backstage before this match with Charlotte and Bayley for the SmackDown Women's title. If you were paying very close attention, if you were being very astute, you would have knew what the outcome of this match was going to be ahead of time. And I saw it, and I actually posted it on Twitter myself. If you paid attention, what color of the wrestling gear was Charlotte wearing for this match? She was wearing red. That, to me, was the ultimate giveaway and the spoiler that Bayley was winning the title here. I thought it was clear as day. So we had that. So they have the match. Bayley comes out more serious here. She has her Bayley buddies. She comes out to her normal music, the Bayley buddies. She stops. She takes her coat off. Her hair is not in a ponytail anymore. It's darker. It's down now, her hair is. And ultimately, she comes out, with this, this non-expressive look on her face. She ultimately grabs one of these, I don't know what you would call them, like a poker or a prick type thing. And she cuts up the Bayley buddies. And I said out loud to myself, thank God. Finally, we're going to get that full-fledged heel turn from Bayley. And this was just the beginning of it. I loved it. I could not get enough of this. This was the Bayley I've been wanting to see for a while. They tried to heel turn with her about a month ago, saying that she is trying to be the role model. It wasn't really working well. This was the Bayley I wanted to see. So Charlotte's in the ring here, already waiting for Bayley as she came out first. So Bayley cuts the Bayley buddies to go down. She is much more aggressive here. I liked the match. This was a great match. I thought this was better than her match at Hell in a Cell, which I thought was a good match. This was much better here. Bayley was more serious in the ring here. Charlotte with her moonsaults. My God, she did the one on the outside off the barricade. Barely caught Bayley with it. It did not look good. And then eventually she hit another one in the ring. She went to go for it. I think Bayley had avoided it or something. But yeah, just not a good look from Charlotte. The visual looks good, but the execution in the end does not look so good. Charlotte was never able to get the figure eight. She tried to get the figure four, figure eight on Bayley, was never able to do it in a match. Bayley here had hit the Bayley to belly at one point for a very close near fall, and then ultimately she hit her elbow drop off the top rope for what I thought was going to be the finish here, but Charlotte kicked out. Bayley's upset, complaining to the official, and making it well known she was having a meltdown, saying it should have been a 3, it should be her title. Charlotte comes from behind, hits natural selection. I figured, that's going to be it, maybe. And then she goes to, I guess, go for the figure 4 and the figure 8, and then Bayley cradled her up on a package and beat her for the title. Got a 3 count and won the match and won the title. But there you go. Bayley winning the title here. A lot of people were surprised by this. I was not. I figured Bayley was winning the title here because I figure you have Sasha, who was drafted on the SmackDown, which we'll talk about, and Bayley winning the title back. It's pretty obvious they had to go in this direction. And I said on Twitter that with Becky staying on Raw because she's the Raw Women's Champion, Charlotte's going to join Becky on Raw. I honestly believe that. And I thought the wrestling gear she was wearing here, which was red, I think is a dead giveaway as to what's going to happen on Raw Monday night. So Bayley won, and after the match, she gets on the microphone and basically told the crowd, "Screw all of you, I'm not your Bayley anymore," or something to the effect. Did the mic drop, left, and that was it. I loved it. I love this Bayley. I love it. I love it. I love it. This was the Bayley heel version I wanted to see, and now we're going to get it. Now, the only question is, can they follow through with it and do it correctly? That's the question. Can they keep the momentum going with Bayley? Look good here. Now let's see if they can follow through with it. And, with Bayley winning the title here and with Sasha being on SmackDown now as well, it's pretty obvious what the end game is going to be eventually. We're going to get a Bayley-Sasha program for that title. They're going to turn Sasha babyface. They've tried her as a heel. It really has not worked. She comes off as kind of this, like this cool heel, Not really a bad person heel like Bayley's starting to become into, which is what she needed. Sasha's obviously going to be babyface at some point again. Sasha and Bayley are going to have a match for that title. They're going to have a program. It's going to happen. You can mark my words on that. So there you go. Now let's talk about the draft itself. So with Seth Rollins being Roman Reigns at the beginning of the night, Raw got the first overall pick. Raw gets 3 picks to SmackDown's 2 because Raw's a 3-hour show, SmackDown's 2 hours, so I guess that makes sense in a way. The first overall pick, which was done by Monday Night Raw, went to Becky Lynch as the Raw Women's Champion, which was to the surprise of nobody because Becky's the Raw Women's Champion. She was not going to go to SmackDown, even though they tried to fool people with the promotional advertisements with her being on the Friday Night SmackDown posters and all that, and advertisements, but it was obvious that she was never going to SmackDown. SmackDown eventually had their first pick. They went with Roman Reigns, to the surprise of no one. Raw then picked the OC, that's AJ Styles and the Good Brothers. No big surprise there considering, AJ is a Paul Heyman guy, so. Then SmackDown, I thought this was probably the biggest surprise of the night. They went with the Fiend Bray Wyatt in their next picks, so the Fiend's going to be on SmackDown, so that ultimately should end the feud with Seth Rollins, you would think, so. And apparently the word is backstage that, Paul Heyman was fighting very hard for the Fiend to be on Raw, but apparently he's going to SmackDown because money talks. And Fox gets what they want because they signed a 5-year, $1 billion deal to have WWE on their network. So if Fox wants the Fiend, Fox gets the Fiend. Final pick in round 1 was Drew McIntyre for Raw, which, okay, is fine. We get into round 2, Raw starts off with Randy Orton, so he moves over. SmackDown then goes with Sasha Banks to the surprise of nobody, one of the worst kept secrets. The blue hair, the blue brand. It was pretty obvious. Raw gets Ricochet next, which is fine, because that's what we do. SmackDown gets Braun Strowman, so he moves over to SmackDown, and I thought that was a fine move, because there's really nothing for Braun left to do at this point. And then Raw gets Bobby Lashley with their final pick in the second round, so there you go. Bobby Lashley was already on Raw, and he's a Paul Heyman guy, so that shouldn't be a surprise. We get on to round 3. Raw gets Alexa Bliss, not the team with her and Nikki, but just Alexa Bliss individually. SmackDown gets Lacey Evans, which they had to do, I thought. Then Kevin Owens gets picked for Raw, so he moves over to Raw, and I think it's only a matter of time before Shane McMahon appears on Raw and they continue this stupid program. SmackDown picks the Revival, who are the current SmackDown Tag Team Champions, so of course there was no doubt they were not going to be moving. They were going to stay right where they are. And then finally, excuse me, finally in the final pick of the third round, Raw went with Natalya. And I will say one thing, they had these war rooms or board rooms, whatever you want to call them, showing these, quote, Fox executive and, quote, USA Network executives. That came off so cheesy. It came off so lame. It was unreal. And, I mean, obviously these were nothing more than paid actors, trying to pretend to care. These were clearly not executives from Fox and NBC Universal, so I thought that was I thought that was just lame. It really was. It was cringeworthy. It really was. And then finally in the fourth round, Ross picked the Viking War Raider Machine Experience for their first pick. SmackDown went with the Lucha House Party. Raw then picked Nikki Cross, so Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss are going to stay together, which is fine. So they're not splitting the team up, at least not right now. I thought maybe they were going to, but they didn't do it. SmackDown didn't pick Heavy Machinery, and then final pick was Street Profits because they've already been on Raw, and why would they leave? So the undrafted free agents on the show here that were available to be picked on Friday night were Cesaro, Chad Gable, EC3, Carilla, Tozawa, Sin Cara, Eric Young, Heath Slater, Drew Gulak, Tamina in the B team. They were undrafted here, so they will be free agents. Now, I think Cesaro and Chad Gable were probably the big surprises. The others, I figure most of them will probably end up on 205 Live or NXT at some point. And really, the others, they're really not around anyways, so they're just going to kind of float back and forth. Now, there are superstars that will be available for draft on the Monday Night Raw show that's going to come up this week in Denver, Colorado. Obviously, the big names will be both men's champions in Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar. We have Shinsuke Nakamura, your Intercontinental Champion. Titus O'Neil, Aleister Black, Daniel Bryan, Luke Harper, Eric Rowan, The Miz, Ali, Baron Corbin, Elias, Samoa Joe, Rusev, Cedric Alexander, Rey Mysterio Jr., R-Truth, who is the 24/7 champion, Apollo Crews, Andrade Cien, Jinder Mahal, Buddy Murphy, Mojo Rawley, No Way San Jose, Shelton Benjamin, and Drake Maverick. Those are the men. Excuse me. For the women, you have Charlotte Flair, who's I believe is going to go to Raw. Bayley, who's going to go to SmackDown because she's SmackDown Women's Champion now. You have the Kabuki Warriors, that's Asuka and Kairi Sane, who are the Women's Tag Champions. I imagine they're going to float between both shows. Carmella, Liv Morgan, Dana Brooke, the Iconics, that's Billie Kay and Peyton Royce. Sarah Logan, and Fire and Desire, that's Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. And then your tag teams, as far as men's go, you have Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode, who are the Raw Tag Team Champions, so they should probably be staying on Raw. The New Day, Kofi, Biggie, and Xavier, I imagine they're going to Raw. And then you have the AOP, Akeem and Cesaro, which I think are going to Raw as well. And then you have Hawkins and Ryder, which is kind of a toss-up. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, Rollins is staying on Raw. Lesnar's staying on SmackDown. Charlotte, I believe, is going to Raw. Bayley's staying on SmackDown. As far as like the big people go, everything else, they did not split up any teams, so I don't think they're going to do that. They've teased it, but we'll see what happens with that. Now, one other thing I want to mention here real quick. There were others that were not notably listed. Those being the Usos, the Hardys, Sheamus, Leo Rush, but he's with NXT now pretty much. Zelina Vega, Naomi, Lars Sullivan, who's out injured, Lana, Mike and Maria Kanellis, I suspect they'll be on Raw. Nia Jax is out injured. Mickey James is out injured. Ruby Riot's out injured. Alicia Fox, I don't know what they're doing with her. You have the Ascensions and the Clones. And then, you have your special attractions like Cain Velasquez, John Cena, Ronda Rousey, and The Undertaker. I suspect Ronda Rousey will be on SmackDown. And as far as the others, I think they're just more special attractions. The final takeaway I had from this draft is, they had the Fox Sports celebrities. They did all these pre-recorded, pre-taped things here. It just came off, it came off so forced and so phony. Especially, the one with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. My God, it was so cringeworthy. It was awful. And, they did all this pre-tape stuff with all these guys. Believe me, for the most part, none of these guys really cared about WWE. Maybe some of them do. Maybe some of them have an inside track on it. Maybe follow the business. But I thought for the most part this came off pretty lame. It came off pretty phony. It came off pretty forced. So that's that. So my overall thoughts for part 1 of the draft. There was really nothing special about it. We barely saw any change. A couple moves. I mean, Bray Wyatt moving I thought was a big surprise. But other than that, there was really nothing to write home about. So that is my official thoughts on part 1 of the WWE Draft. Let's hope part 2 on Monday Night Raw will be much better. I'm Jeff. Thanks for checking us out. We'll see you the next time. Bye for now, everyone.
For the JBSN Media Network, this is Jenna Green speaking.